Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mindmakers Podcast 10.0. It's been a fascinating nine podcast. We've gotten great feedback from y'all. We've gotten bouquets and brickbats from about our podcasts on politics, current affairs, and whatnot. Joining me, as usual, is Pramod Kumar Buravalli and Sunanda Vashisht. This is Adit Kapadia coming to you live from Houston. How are you guys?
Good. How are you, Adit?
Thank you.
Pretty good, pretty good. Just settling in. The spring has just settled in. So Houston, for the 1 or 2 months that we enjoy, has beautiful weather for the last week. So trying to escape the rains though. So how have you guys been?
Good. We've been good, and a lot of newsy week.
It always is.
It always is a newsy
for news
week.
junkies like us.
I know it's always a newsy week, but it's been an interesting newsy week for us. So this is going to be a great podcast.
Great, absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit about the land acquisition bill, and part two is going to be talking about this narrative victimization that is being created. I'm not going to. We'll go into specifics in the when we talk about the victimization of who is creating that narrative against whom. We'll keep the listeners intrigued for till we get to that point. But
But anybody who follows newspapers would know
some sort of fear mongering, or I don't know what is going on. And I don't even know if I'm going to take the aspersions caused at face. Who's casting the aspersions? Some I might take at face value, but if it's coming from the usual suspects who were outraging about the same things, all they've done is fill in the blanks and change some names. Then hard for me to take them.
it's
seriously.
manufactured. There's nothing to take
What do you
seriously.
think,
It's
Pramod?
manufactured.
Yeah, this persecution complex, it's almost very equivalent to B complex tablets I take every day.
You take B complex every day?
My mom has got me into that mode 10-15 years
Are you listening to that, listeners? Pramod still has to take B complex on his advice of his mom.
No, but that means I have to be complex.
Be complex.
Not be simple. Not so simply understanding certain issues that are you created for the sake of the media. So we can talk about that in detail. The whole literature that goes around.
Live by the media, die by the media syndrome.
Very
Anyways, yeah, so we have an intriguing podcast, and part one we'll start talking about the land acquisition bill and the other bills, and also we'll give you an overview of what has been going on in the Rajya Sabha.
Lot of work has been going around. Whether
I think
people
the complaint is overwork. 121%. So
too much work.
It's good.
It's good.
It's a good precedent.
We haven't worked for 10 years. It's good that we work.
Mr. Modi is making sure the parliament functions just like him.
And I know.
So, anyways, that's what we'll talk about in part one. Thanks. So the first part of our podcast, we're going to be talking about the land acquisition bill and other proceedings of the Rajya Sabha and what the other bills have passed and what does this mean for the government. Just to give you a brief background, the land acquisition in India is governed by the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act, which came into force from January 2014. Till 2003, land acquisition in India was governed by an act passed in 1894.
Till 2013.
Till 2013, yes. Till 2013, yes. Till a Land Acquisition Act of 1894.
After a while, after the land acquisition had happened, people would start realizing that the value has gone up much more than what they had sold it for.
There was no standardized
so they were
way,
coming together in an association or a group backed by a union of that local, probably Communist Party or the whoever was getting benefited from
and
that.
to be fair to Congress Party at that time, 2013, they did bring in, finally after so many years, they brought in a bill, and they after much deliberation in the parliament, it was passed in 2013. However, even at the time of passing, everybody felt that there was much going on with the bill and it needed to be revised. And this is what is happening right now. In 2014, a BJP-led NDA government has come with a revision of 2013 bill.
But Adit, you know that, and you were going to say that this bill that was passed in 2013 came with the active support of the BJP, which then afterwards realized after a year and a half that it was so impossible to implement. And many state governments, both Congress, BJP and regional parties,
the chief ministers had complained about
back, several different feedback back to the union government. So why do you think from 2013 after the passing till now, they had to embark on the land. And you're an infrastructure guy, right? Can you talk about that aspect and kind of compare, contrast how it happens here in the US versus India?
Well, infrastructure is one part of it. I'm coming to the infrastructure part. I think the problem that these guys were facing were protests in the case of Sardar Sarovar Dam, in the Singrur and Nandigram project in West Bengal, what was happening with industries and stuff. In India, land acquisition sadly is only viewed as, acha, ye corporates ko, ye hoga, and industries.
But how does it happen in the US?
In
For a simple project, let's say a railroad project.
A simple project in US, what they would do is they would identify the land, they would find out the market rates for it, and then they would find out whether the land is it having loss of access, the property owners have to be relocated, displaced, and according to that there are market factors that they have to be reimbursed, so forth. If it's
But
just
the government still has its way. I mean, you cannot
The people
form a,
cannot say no.
a committee that says that every acre of land that gets acquired for a railroad project, that person should get some job, next generation should get a job.
That doesn't happen. No.
Now the government does do public meetings and stuff like that to make sure to.
Are there protracted
explain.
litigations in such acquisitions?
I am sorry.
I think what happens is, and I know this, it is even before acquiring the land, the government goes in and there are many meetings held. Everybody is made participatory to that meeting. And after that, once the land is acquired, there is no question that the land will not be acquired. Land will be acquired, but then a fair compensation will be given to everyone. But there is no concept of that next generation will be paid or anything.
Yeah.
The litigation, this whole meetings having everybody is participatory. The litigations have gone down. I mean, there are not much.
The difference in the perspective is a lot of land. When we talk about US, a lot of that land is owned by people in houses and store. In India, the debate is more about the agrarian land.
Yeah.
What they are trying to do is, let's face it, 65% of our population is agrarian, and they are trying to tap into that vote saying that this is anti-farmer. And most of us are trying to question what is anti-farmer about this, and they are not.
It is not anti-farmer, and I will tell you why it is not anti-farmer. Because remember, Anna Hazare had come with a huge this thing that I'm going to protest and I'm going to lead an agitation and everything. That fizzled out. Why did that fizzle out? We don't hear about Anna Hazare anymore in last couple of weeks. You know why that fizzled out? Because the farmers don't agree that it is anti-farmer.
Right.
So for Sitaram Yechuri, and who has probably never seen a farmland ever in his life, and a chief minister of the biggest agrarian economy, aka Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, is protesting against land bill is a joke.
No, I think you meant biggest agitational economy.
No, but generally,
I don't think there is an agrarian.
Generally speaking, coming back to the main point, the difference between the US and India is that the US has a huge, it has land much more disproportional to its population of, I think, 32 crore people. Yeah. So it has much more avenues at its disposal to acquire alternate pieces of land, lay alternate alignments of a highway, a railroad. But in India, when you are going through population center or like you rightly said, an agricultural piece of land that has a potential to yield, an agricultural output, that is where the problem is arising, which is where I think the government should tread cautiously and take a step back and first of all analyze what these barren lands are, what these government lands are, which obviously nobody will comment or kind of protest if there is a land acquisition happening. It's only with respect to the returns and who is getting the land, whether it's a corporate hospital, whether it's a corporate university. Whenever that word corporate, and unfortunately India is not mature to understand that not all corporate is bad, but there is crony, obviously capitalism everywhere, which with this unabashed display of wealth has put off many people who aspire to get that same wealth.
I know, but we are getting there. We are trying to get out. I think when you get out of socialism and you are getting into market economy and capitalism, the first stop invariably is crony capitalism. It will happen. You cannot avoid it. Now we are getting to that point where we are leaving crony capitalism behind, and the best part about that is coal auction. Coal auction was a real thing where we were trying to get ahead of crony capitalism. So for
No,
people
but I
to say, just because we have had crony capitalists and crony capitalism for last 50 years or so, capitalism is a bad word. I don't think so. Crony capitalism, yes, there was crony capitalism, but we are trying to get away from it. But it is an inevitable point when you are trying to get away from socialism.
No, but I agree with you that
Because license Raj will create crony
capitalism
capitalism.
is not a bad word, but I don't think that crony capitalism is the first consequence of socialism. I think crony capitalism was happening probably in the 8-10 years or something, because it was an exploitation of a socialist mindset that India was in.
That's what I'm saying. Socialism leads to crony capitalism.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's an inevitable consequence.
When you're trying to get out of, it can be, but not when Congress is
as me and
unheld.
Pramod were, I think, we were talking about it privately yesterday, that the problem is there is a thin line between regulation and control. And people, when they are talking about this, this is anti-farmer, they want more control, See, government cannot be controlling. They can definitely play a role of a regulatory body, saying that
Here is the thing, that what Arun Jaitley very eloquently said in the parliament. We need jobs. We need jobs, and we need people. We need industry, and for those jobs, for that, land needs to be acquired. Anybody who has tried to acquire land in India knows how difficult it is. So the land needs to be acquired. We need to have proper laws. For Congress to come in and put a spanner in works and say this is anti-farmer and this is, which it is not. Probably 2013 law was more anti-farmer than 2014.
And let's not forget, let's not just talk about the BJP. Jayalalitha has come out in support of it. Jay Panda wrote a fantastic column in Times of India talking about it. So it's not that, the state chief ministers are realizing the advantages of having a land acquisition.
I have a feeling most Congress chief ministers, are there any Congress chief ministers left?
Go guy.
I don't know if they have land left.
The guy who's going.
No, Congress chief ministers are left, but except for Siddaramaiah, I don't know.
No, but who's that?
Siddaramaiah is sleeping, right?
Tarun Gogoi.
Tarun Gogoi. So even the Congress chief ministers secretly are happy with the 2014 thing. It is, in fact, if you read Jay Panda's plan, and everybody else in private will tell you that a 2013 law was so atrocious that it made it impossible to acquire land. 2014 is a step forward, and all Congress is doing is really trying to get its political feedback, and that is why they are opposing this bill. There is no other reason to oppose it. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi today in Man Ki Baat, he spoke to the farmers directly, which I think is a great step forward.
No, and I mean, let's not discount it. In the United States, there are reports that come out valuing the price of farmland, how much is there per acre or something. I would hope that such reports come out in India as well, so that this thing about ambiguity the ambiguity over this goes away. Now just think about this. If you want to find out the value of any property, you can go to the appraisal district and you can find out what's the value of the property, and accordingly there. India mein, that is difficult. There is a lot of potholes that that the government is going to tread into when it goes to land acquisition. But what we are saying is this is a good first step.
Absolutely. And people are actually happy, if you see with the coal bill and the way it was done transparently, people are happy. There is transparency in this government, so people are happy with the land bill.
To wrap it up, Pramod.
I think the amendments that they have introduced, which bring some of those 13 areas also within the ambit, which is what the consternation was about, and secondly also to determine the fair compensation that over a period of time can accrue to that party, is a welcome step. So the land acquisition amendments that the government is produced, at least negotiating, and has several regional parties, TRS, the TDPs, BJDs, and all of them coming around, is basically to get more. Probably more in the cash of in the hands of the people who are selling the land, and also to try to tie in that to employment generation that might happen with that piece of land. Also the clause that the consent that has to be obtained, the 75-25, or which was holding up about 400,000 or 4 lakh projects totally, which would have created employment and all that.
There were a number of stalled projects. That was the biggest problem.
That is the biggest thing that the government is trying to get, is
get the stalled projects
companies to get started on employment creation. So these amendments are crucial. Hopefully the Congress and left realize in April that this is not going to
And
take.
even if they don't realize, it's okay.
They can't leverage the Rajya Sabha numbers too much.
Too much,
We have
yeah.
76 people. This time the government had about 120 people voting for 117.
And this will also tell you that people are understanding what is going on, because as I said, Anna Hazare had threatened that he's going to go on a mass-wide agitation and people are going to be out on the roads and everything. That didn't happen because people understand. And farmers, we are so condescending about farmers in our discourse so far. I mean, the mainstream media is that it really angers me. Farmers know what is good for them. Farmers know how much they can leverage from their farms, and farmers know what is good for the future of agriculture industry as well. Nobody needs to dictate it to them.
No, and who knows who represents what the farmers think? A so-called journalist from, say, Haryana or Andhra Pradesh who has their base set in Gurgaon, and they will talk about all Haryana farmers.
Yeah.
They will talk about all Andhra farmers. What are we talking about? So, when they are actually telling that on TV, that, the farmers are, I find that patronizing,
Very
insulting,
patronizing.
and obnoxious.
I think Hukumdev Singh Yadav
He
made
did
an
a
eloquent
brilliant
speech
Yes,
talking
in
about
the-
the issues of what a farmer feels when he probably comes from that
I
background
think
as
that's
well.
a must,
He-
in case
yeah.
anybody has missed it,
YouTube.
and all our
Let's give a
listeners who
background.
are
Let's give a
listening.
background. Hukumdev Narayan Yadav is a Lok Sabha MP from Madhubani in Bihar. He said that he had, उसने ये भी speech में कहा, and I'm saying Hindi because that's how the speech was, and it will ruin the essence of the speech. कि मैं 2-3 साल अलग-अलग पार्टी में था, लेकिन 20 साल भाजपा में रहा हूँ. अटल जी के टाइम से नरेंद्र मोदी के टाइम तक, and he, said how the attitudes were, what is the end, and it was not just rhetoric. He backed it up with numbers.
Yeah.
He was talking about,
Pretty good.
so it was.
No, and he completely said why Lohyats are not Lohyats anymore, and
Farmers are very kind-hearted people. They actually give up land even if it is a small electric pole that comes up.
Yeah.
You just have to make it humane, make sure that certain minimum infrastructure is provided for the
there is
rehabilitation.
transparency.
There is
They
lot of
know that this is being acquired for public good, greater good, and there is no land shark waiting behind to
Let's make
grab
this
it.
clear. Arundhati Roy and Megha Patkar do not speak for farmers.
No,
of
they
India.
don't.
Nor do the journalists sitting in Noida pretending to be experts on God knows what.
Like Hukumdev Narayan very eloquently said that farmers farm se boj kam karna hai, but that does not mean you will make farmers into laborers.
And
give them work.
Sunanda, हमारा भी एक problem ये है कि we give too much importance or credence to what the Delhi media says. There is a lot of regional media who've come up with very nuanced explanations and who have ears on the ground, who have actually talked to farmers. So we should also pay.
That's the
attention.
problem with nascent right-wing media also, because they will get their reference points, or they'll get their talking points from the left media, and then they will outrage. So that's not how it is. The nascent, and I use the word nascent with lot of care, that they need to go out and they need to find the real stakeholders and talk to them.
Absolutely. So when it comes to, we started from the amendments, but these issues also, especially with the land acquisition bills, what they're juxtaposing along with the farmer problems, we need to highlight those issues as well. So for all the Congress supporters, there was some excellent news. Their natural allies, the left, were the only ones to support the Congress government in the Rajya Sabha.
It was finally UPA one, right?
UPA one.
It was
yes.
UPA one.
Yes.
Congress
the
and
only
erstwhile left. I was so happy when I saw Sonia ji and Sitaram Yechuri ji marching
Who's going to
together.
be the next general secretary, by the way, after Karat?
Of Congress?
नहीं
एक ही बात है ना?
एक ही बात.
एक ही बात है ना?
Walking.
नहीं, तो राहुल
They
जी
walk
क्या
and talk together.
They walk and talk together. That's what they were doing in that march. They were walking and talking together.
So, especially when it comes to Yechuri ji and
Morning
media
walks.
connection.
Morning
all,
walks
nice.
and all that.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Morning walks, evening walks, afternoon walks.
But when it comes to the left and Congress, they share a very weird relationship.
Who's more left?
No, I'll tell you something. Before that, Sanjay Baru said, or in his book, that Chidambaram used the choicest of words for Sitaram Yechuri.
Is Yechuri a Marxist? No, I'm just asking.
That.
I'm just asking, Sometimes
No,
you
he's
have
a Marxmanist.
Marxist. Yeah, as we say, Marxist with who enjoys the finer things in life.
Yeah.
I think this complete different public persona. But then when it comes to Delhi, they all they take a complete U-turn about that. And who knows? So, but apart
No,
from
we have Marxists who are not Marxists. We have leftists who are not leftists. We have Samajwadis who are not Samajwadis.
And even
We have all
in
kinds
fact,
of
even
hypocrites.
within
but
BJP
then,
and
then the right would say that we have right wingers who are
Who are
not
not
right
right
wingers.
wings.
yeah. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So let's call a spade a spade.
No, because there is, don't we have Swadeshi element within, right? Swadeshi Jagran Manch, we have that too.
So you are saying they're not right wing?
No,
not clearly.
In what aspect?
no, generally speaking,
Others is trying to throw a googly at me.
You see, Sunanda hasn't broken a breaking news on our podcast for 3 weeks or something. So I think
Yeah.
it's about time when she breaks her
when I
silence on
say
Swadeshi Jagran.
Swadeshi Jagran Manch is not right wing.
This is going to be a fun plug on your timeline, Sunanda.
Yeah.
but generally speaking, what's kind of surprising me on the land acquisition and post land acquisition, all the probably negotiations that were happening in the parliament is that the government has certainly broken the logjam.
Yeah.
They were able to get certain crucial bills passed, although on the land acquisition part, maybe they will take some more time to either come.
I think it will happen by the next session. It will happen, it's inevitable. It will happen by the next session. Now that the opposition unity has been
But
broken.
the session is being right now. The session is in break, right? It could happen in
Yeah,
the second part.
it could
of
have the
session
second
as
part
well.
of the session
and
as
they
well.
might even get a joint session to pass it.
Yeah,
So who knows?
yeah.
But the minds in that bill went through, and all
But this whole opposition unity that Derek O'Brien was bragging about, I am so glad that has
he
been
voted
broken.
with the government.
He voted with the
Or
government.
did he walk out?
No, he voted with the government. I think BJD walked out.
No, he quizzed, he got an answer, so he agreed.
He agreed. So we are glad for that. But you know why?
Who is the supreme leader of West Bengal? A. Mamata Banerjee, B. Mamata Banerjee, C. Mamata Banerjee, and D. Mamata Banerjee. So, guess what the answer? I mean, I would say none of the above, but
None of the
It's not an
Nota.
option.
Nota is not an option. Or you're a Marxist.
or I'm a Marxist.
I know.
Exactly.
But-
Maoist.
Maoist, exactly. But anyway, they did realize, even TMC did realize that coal and mines bill and coal bill, this was for the benefit of state. So there was no reason to be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. Congress and left is different, they are trying to, they don't have,
What was surprising is SP and BSP also voted with the government.
yeah.
No, the Congress and communists don't have much left.
That's what I said. They don't have much
They're
left.
just banking.
Or they are not left. What are
They're
you
not
trying to say?
No, they're trying to get their political feedback.
As I think I tweeted about that the other day, that this is probably their last chance at relevance and
Yeah.
survival. You see, Congress has about 67 MPs in the Rajya Sabha. There is no way they're going to maintain that number.
I have no issues with their marching left and right and center. As long as the government gets to pass all the bills, Congress and left can have all the headlines. I have no
No, but
issues
this is
with
the
that.
funny part about Congress, and a lot of Congress is on Twitter. If the bill doesn't pass, it is probably anti-farmer or something like that. If it passes, it was a Congress legislation that they brought back 2 years ago.
No, but
But what
And
is
if the
interesting
Congress
is,
is a
what is interesting is our media on the day when such landmark bills like coal bill was passed, our media was talking about, is Sonia Gandhi back in control of Congress? I'm like, she's the president of the Congress.
No.
Who else will be back in control?
Ahmad Patel was overheard saying that there is no march in April. There is only Fool's Day in April.
So Congress marching band is not
No
going to
march
have-
in April, and the subsequent few weeks that are left, I think they will only try to fool themselves into
Last
believing
point-
that. What I'm looking to see is that the government has started taking political steps, which for 9 months they were kind of trying to get their understanding of how government
does
should
take a little
function,
while to
how
get
to
your
deal with the
feet, yeah.
bureaucracy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
also
yeah,
what laws and legislations were holding up certain government projects, which is the most important thing, which is why Jaitley insisted on government funding. The private people were not stepping up.
Right.
And to get the economy moving, there are certain legislations that, including GST, which is the next big hurdle for them. These are 3 or 4 major legislations with an executive order or the joint session or breaking the opposition unity.
yeah.
Sam Dam Dand Bed has to be deployed for the first 2 years. and then also to try to get those numbers back in Rajya Sabha. So this is the 2 years time when Congress has also realized their political game. In fact,
And also, BJP needs to reach out, the government needs to reach out to the direct stakeholders.
Yeah.
They have to understand that Congress and TMC and Mulayam Singh Yadav, they do not speak for ordinary people.
they have to speak up. They,
They
have to
speak
come
up.
out.
What will
And
Anand Sharma now outrage about in the Rajya Sabha?
Lot of stuff
I
to
know.
outrage about.
As
His walls are self-imposed. The marts that he creates are also probably really not necessary
Are
at this
those
point.
from his tenure as a union minister?
No, I didn't say Walmart. I said walls and marts.
Walls and marts.
Walls and marts. But why would you bring the Walmart reference?
Anand Sharma ji, as the Commerce Minister, wanted to get FDI in retail, and I had tooth and nail opposed. I had said ki if that were to happen, Kolhapuri chappals would be made in China and sold back in Kolhapur for 50 rupees less than what it is being sold. So the philosophical aspect of getting FDI in retail, even 3 or 4 years ago, when I started writing about these things, was that Anand Sharma's whole philosophy was to get land acquisition passed through other means, which is get the population displaced naturally, let them leave and have population centers created that are, kind of centering around Walmarts. Walmart doesn't get to enter New York and New Jersey here.
Yeah.
And what is he? I mean, what are? I mean, sometimes this tourism that happens from India of some bureaucrats and political leaders is basically just for 1 or 2 weeks. They don't understand the implication of a Walmart or what a Kroger could do to your
Thanks for
community.
your ministries making the decisions around in the right hands.
Oh, they are
So-
absolutely a
making
great
it.
commerce minister, and
great
then
commerce minister.
they understand the ground realities in many. I think not just from a commercial standpoint, but also from
Also having risen through the ranks and
from a
knowing
small
the
and
ground
medium business and
reality.
perspective as well.
No, definitely. So it was quite an interesting discussion. From the bills, it took a political turn, but it always does on mind makers.
It did turn to Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
If we want to talk about that and Hillary, that should be another.
That is
That should
another
be another
podcast.
podcast. Yes, and Sunanda will bring her CNN expertise on that. No, I'm just kidding. Fox News, I meant. But so the next part is going to be we're talking about the social issues that are happening in India. And,
Persecution complex.
Persecution complex and fear mongering that's going on. Part 3. So the last part of our podcast, we're going to be talking about Sunanda's favorite word, obfuscation, and also stuff about fear mongering and whatnot. I don't know. There is a recent narrative that's being built by either media or what I don't know what's fueling that narrative that Christians are under persecution in India. Do you think that is true? I personally don't think so.
Where are the facts?
No, I've talked to many Christian friends of mine, Catholics predominantly, who have for a long time been very uncomfortable with evangelical groups. They were, in fact, the first people to get converted from the Catholic sect to a non-Catholic sect was the first approach was done by the evangelical groups. These new churches that are springing up. Very sect neutral type of people. I empathize with them because their numbers are falling in Europe. Their numbers are absolutely dismal here in North America with all the sex abuse scandals, with the church pastors engaged in real estate. I've seen many people who are very devout Christians for hundreds of years are now turning rationalist.
No, not just that. I was watching a show yesterday, Bill Maher's show, where he was questioning the Vatican Bank and the influence and stuff, and a lot of it. So many mainstream media, mainstream and stand-up comedy shows, they are questioning that.
And this happens across the globe, that a new convert, when he or she adopts a new faith, becomes more loyal and feels much more obliged to show that loyalty to his peers and his or her colleagues. And that is what happens all the time, is this so-called complex called persecution complex. You always feel you are persecuted because the majority is following some other faith. You want to talk to them about your newfound salvation. You want to spread the word. You want to.
But
This is my thing. The concept of persecution. See, persecution means when you have a certain amount of a community and the numbers are dwindling, right? So, is there complaint that we are not able to expand our religion? Is that why they are feeling persecuted, or are they feeling that
No,
the numbers
Christians
are
will
dwindling?
never be able to expand in India. Even if see what is happening is
No. So my point
Indians
is,
are
what is the
very
definition of persecution that's being
no.
used?
No, definition of persecution is that is being used is the state is going after them, and that I think is the biggest
No, it
lie.
could be because some NGOs who are illegally engaged in rackets and these Hawala scams are all getting
Yeah.
shut down by
The new government.
upon the recommendation of security forces. By the way, the security forces are very secular and neutral, not the
Yeah.
government. You can't accuse the Indian armed forces of becoming communal, the
Yeah.
rot of becoming communal, and all that. So these people are newly acquired people who will go to church on Sunday, will go to temple on Saturday, will go to the local Peer Dargah and do this thing on Friday. Indians are very secular people, and unfortunately, the evangelical groups pretty much here in the US don't get that. They just want to get that feeling that after 35 or 40 age, they have hoped and prayed that 10 people over there in India who are suffering poverty because of their ancient faiths have come out very solid.
India is an inherently plural society, and one of the most unique plural societies in the world. So
And has been
and-
for
Yeah.
beginning of time, and
decades,
has been
centuries, thousands
and
of years.
has been plural even before these religions were even existing. So it's funny to be
it's
talking
funny
about
It's
Indian.
funny to notice when it comes to the religions of India that originated in India: Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Buddhism. And I can tell for sure about Hinduism, Sikhism, and Jainism that there is no conversion thing that we have.
Also, it is so funny that they talk about intolerance in India. Even within Hindu fold, how many different Hindu sects do we see? For example, my home and your home, we are both Hindus and we follow different the same. But when then we're Hindu, I'm tolerant of you, you are tolerant of me, and have been for since beginning of time. So a Hindu fold that can take so many different sects within themselves. You think they will in any way be intolerant of any faith? And as we always keep saying, India is tolerant and secular, not because of the word secularism in its constitution. India is tolerant and secular because it's a Hindu.
No, and
it's
this
a
whole
majority.
brouhaha that is happening right now is by a minuscule minority of Indian Christians who are now aided by a minuscule minority in the Indian liberal media who, again, borrowing from one of our writers who's writing an excellent piece here in the next few weeks, is that deja vu feeling that he or she
Not
wants
next
to
few
kind
weeks,
of
this week.
wants
This week,
to kind
yeah.
of reach out wants to kind of reach out to the Western media and try to get some attention because now the West has turned against the whole concept that Modi is anti-Islamic. They don't buy that anymore. So now they're trying to give this new narrative that Modi is anti-Christian.
I had said this in my piece, if you remember, in my the piece that Adit was talking about in the age of obfuscation. I had talked about this, that who benefits most from painting India as an intolerant society. Does an ordinary Christian benefit from it? Does an ordinary Muslim benefit from it? No. Who benefits most from it? People who are the liberal media who want to write in New York Times, in Washington Post, in Huffington Post. They are the people, because the more they create this bandwagon of India as a liberal society, more they'll be asked to write these Mickey Mouse columns. So then all of them, it's a domino effect. One person will write one thing and everybody will write the same thing.
To even imagine that the West can continue to extend its influence via this conversion business is very naive, because they are either saying that without understanding how an Indian mindset works. I've known people who were Buddhist previously and now are practicing Hindus who are now completely agnostic. They believe in everything. I've seen Christians who are now looking towards some of the Christians in Tamil Nadu were looking towards Chinese goddess of all places. There is a new Chinese goddess that
And
is
also,
there is one. There is
and
one. In fact,
also,
Ravish-
Prime Minister Modi, in a very impassioned speech, said that the only thing that binds him is Constitution of India.
No, but-
and as Constitution of
And
India, everybody
I'm glad that he restated the obvious. But this is the thing: whether the Prime Minister of India states it or not, it's a well understood fact
Yeah.
amongst Indians of what kind of a society we are. So and another thing also, if they think that this narrative is getting a lot of traction in the international media, I don't know how true is that as well.
It's
No,
only
no,
getting
in the-
traction in your New
Evangelical
York Times.
media.
New York Times.
No, New York Times. The liberal media, New York Times and Huffington Post maybe, and
और दूसरा ये भी है कि if it even gets into probably a
I won't be
completely
surprised if NPR picks it up.
non-influential American newspaper or something, we'll overplay it and we are actually highlighting the newspaper's influence, which it does not even have over Americans. So one thing which also we need to understand is that where is it getting traction and does it have influence over its citizens?
And why is it getting traction?
Okay,
The
let me
only
ask you
reason why it
something.
is getting traction is to embarrass
On a lighter
Modi
note,
government. There is
on
no
a
other
lighter
reason.
note, let me ask you, what do you think is more influential amongst American people, New York Times or BuzzFeed right now?
Yahoo News?
Yeah, Yahoo News, third
Right,
option.
and also one of the things we have to remember is that the Christian community in India is very prosperous, very
Yes,
highly
and they're
literate,
doing very well.
just like the Parsis, the Jains, the Jewish people,
Their
and also
educational institutions are doing
they
very
have
well.
a huge land bank.
They
that
have huge
has,
land bank and
that has accrued over the years,
yeah.
and they've invested into healthcare and education. They do a lot of good service, but the whole conversion business will never work in India because Indians as a whole are a very debating sort of people. If you say that only this God you have to pray to, and then everybody else they have believed for 10,000 years have to
No,
go to.
and
So if
then-
it is frustration about not being able to, they are propagating.
No, because
the law
that-
is not stopping them from propagating. But if they're not able to bring as many
Pramod,
people
let
into
me
their
ask you
fold,
something. When it
I can
comes to
understand
a
that frustration.
theory of creation or something, our beliefs are completely different, right? If tomorrow someone tells and is like junk whatever you were believing yesterday and now believe this, the natural tendency is to question why so. You know, but anyways, so that's one of the narratives, and we'll explore this in
No,
further.
the persecution complex is what I think some minority Christians are probably used to. And
I think what liberal media has also done is that they have gotten hold of some celebrity Christians and they have somehow gotten them into the mainstream, talking about in the mainstream
Like,
media
they also
and all
they
that
also
stuff.
need the airspace, na. So they are coming, as they also need the attention.
no, let's not.
I find it very funny when Mary Combe, for example, talks about persecution. I mean, Mary Combe, a film.
No, let's not take away the kind of good projects also Christians have done.
No, I'm not taking
from
out the good projects.
Yeah.
I'm saying that this minuscule minority that you said, who wants the attention on the media, probably who wants to be noticed right now after years of ignominy.
No, they have done good projects and everything because it's a
Achha.
lot easier for them to acquire lands than any other than say a Hindu
a
organization.
media that is anti-government, if somebody says that I like this government, the media won't cover it. If they say, oh, this government is out to kill me, they'll be like, Arey, what do you think? Is the government out to kill you? So this is
again, it goes back to who owns that media, what kind of funding that has come into that media. That's again a larger debate.
We'll explore that debate.
One thing before I summarize, I think the current frustration is that this was happening not just because of the NDA government, but the past 10-15 years you're seeing a new phenomena called Ghar Wapsi, and also the clamping down on all these dubious NGOs, both by the Congress and the BJP government, by the way.
The president of
The
India.
president of India, as the finance minister, clamped down on the maximum NGOs, which prompted the British government to cancel funding and cut it down by half. Because they were afraid that the money was going to the Chandrayaan program.
Yeah. So no, anyways, this
I do want to conclude that there is no persecution happening.
Yeah.
It is just in the minds of people. It's
Absolutely.
manufactured.
So to wrap it up, you can follow us on Twitter at MYINDMAKERS. You can like our Facebook page. You can follow my personal account at ASK0704. You can follow Sunanda at SUNANDAVASHISHT and Pramod at PBBURAVALLI. Do keep checking out for our new pieces. We're having a piece on IAF, Development versus Hindutva Part 2, and a piece, the Deja Vu piece that Pramod was talking about. So we have 3 fascinating pieces lined up for this weekend. Do keep tuning in. We'll be back same time next week talking about more issues, more news. Till then,
Lord save you.
Lords. Till then, everyone have a good one. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks.